Hi guys, and welcome to another video. This week we're talking about energy. One of the first big community backlashes with Guild Wars 2 was the reveal that the game had energy potions. There was a pretty standard mana system in place. Skills cost energy to use and mana slowly recharged. If you got low on energy in a battle, you could drink a potion and fight on. Energy systems like this are pretty standard in RPGs, so why did Guild Wars 2 remove energy altogether? Well, Arenanet were using energy as a long-term attrition mechanic, something that slowly wears us down. It's what developers can use for pacing. You see, a player out of energy needs to stop fighting for a period of time to either wait for it to recharge or go get to a shop somewhere. Content tends to be broken up like this because no matter how fun the combat itself is, if players are encouraged to endlessly slaughter everything from beginning to end of the game, it can become monotonous. The attrition mechanic makes sure we have some cooldown time doing other activities that the game has to offer. Energy was also supposedly being used as a means of indicating difficulty. Dodging and using defensive abilities would cost more energy than using other skills, so players going out of their depth ran out of energy very quickly. This discouraged people from banging their heads against a brick wall, so to speak, in areas too difficult for them. The idea here is that players can frustrate themselves trying to do things they shouldn't really be doing without having some hard limit in place. It's not a notion I'm sure I agree with. I mean, surely if you're dying a lot, that's indication enough that you're not doing something right, but I do appreciate the point. Another big key reason for why energy was being used in Guild Wars 2 was because potions could be used as a gold sink, a way to keep the in-game economy from spiralling out of control. The idea probably being that players could play more carefully and save money on pots, or be more reckless and pay the price. Some people argue that by adding potions you also introduce a nice way of distinguishing good players from bad ones by rewarding those who are more efficient with their energy. I mean, they save gold, but there are two big problems here. Firstly, giving players potions to buy their way out of low mana completely undermines the concept of an attrition mechanic. Pacing is no longer determined by the game or its developers, but rather by how much money a person's got. For example, players given money at the start of the game can now just skip ahead to more difficult areas for faster gains, while hardcore players at the other end of the scale are now enabled to farm endlessly because the money they earn covers all the potions they need. There's no downtime. Not only does this counterintuitively punish new and casual players, while so many other systems are being implemented to help those people out, but it also encourages other well-known issues within MMOs like botting, gold selling, and grinding. The second problem people had, and this was a big problem to people, was that the energy system seemed to remove complexity from combat. The idea of not being punished for poor energy management and having a free ticket out based on your wealth, it worried us. Fans from the original game knew energy as a shallow, fast regenerating pool that provided depth to battles. Energy could be denied, it could be hidden and maintained in various ways. It took a very active role in each fight. Potions seem to remove this depth, and to an extent that's true. But I think the truth is that in Guild Wars 2, the energy system itself had already changed on a fundamental level. Potions themselves weren't the problem. The energy system had gone from a short-term fight-to-fight mechanic to a long-term attrition mechanic. So energy as we knew it in the first game never existed in the second, because Arenanet didn't think it was necessary with the new combat they had in place. It's probably because of this that when redesigning energy, the developers chose to remove it altogether, rather than simply drop potions, the part people seem to hate. Instead, they made it so that all the skills are now balanced purely around their cooldowns, with dodging specifically having its own quickly regenerating bar. That bar is still called energy, so from that perspective, energy's still in the game. But don't let that confuse you. The system is essentially completely different. Energy's now used only for balancing the defensive capabilities gained from dodging. This also has been a bit of a controversial decision, because it makes light of the supposed dumbed-down gameplay. However, with more active positional combat, almost double the skills to work with, and the ability to dodge and move constantly, I honestly think there's more than enough to occupy us. What complexity's lost from us messing around with a blue bar on the user interface is more than made up for elsewhere. And, I think having both could easily lead to an unnecessarily steep learning curve, frustration, and all the problems that follow with that. The most common complaint I hear, though, on this particular issue is that using only recharge encourages players to simply spam skills with no thought behind what they're doing. But that's just simply not true. With longer recharges on key skills, it's landing or wasting something at the right or wrong moment that could mean victory or defeat to you and your team. In PvP, it will be the teams that can synchronize their elites or their best skills and plan to use them most effectively that will come out on top. And I really think that such teamwork and coordination is only going to be encouraged by the fact we're now not inhibited by an energy mechanic. So that's all well and good, but there's still a problem here with the new system. What about a long-term attrition mechanic, which is what Arenanet originally wanted to implement? As I said, when they redesigned Energy, they didn't just get rid of potions, they scrapped it all. Why? It actually seems like they have another plan, because last we heard they've been working on a new attrition mechanic for the game since they implemented this change. I don't know if I believe we really need one to have a good game. Certainly most games have an attrition mechanic of some form, like ammunition, durability, or death penalties, and you can even argue that Guild Wars 2 already has it in place, as each time you die, it takes other players longer to help you back up. But is more than that really necessary? I'm not convinced we need some contrived mechanic to tell us we're out of our depth or to force us to go back to base. I can appreciate that added twist of tension from being worn down by a long dungeon before a big boss fight. But to me, the thought of something like durability, a mechanic that was in a previous build of Guild Wars 2, crawling its way into the final game, definitely isn't something that gets me excited. Thanks for watching.